What's up, Weekend Warriors? Thanks for joining us for Weekendology episode number 38. This is the only podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. For everything related to all the best topics from music, movies, sports, food, and more, we have got you covered. I'm your host, Will Deishley, as always joined by Aaron Berg. Aaron, what's up, buddy?
Hey, fired up.
Yeah, you're fired up. I'm fired up for this episode, too, so I think it's going to be a good one. How have you been, though? What's the week been so far for you?
Yeah, back to reality.
I know.
It's always the worst after a holiday week.
We were...
You know, you kind of realize just how monotonous life is. And
Monday was so hard to get back into the swing of things. Like, I took... Yeah. But I had a good 5 days off, and which felt great, but... Monday rolled around, I was like, oh my God, this
that's the worst when you take those
hard.
full weeks off, because then you really lose touch with reality, and then you get back to it, and you're like, this
is bad, so...
Yep.
Yeah, back to the old grinds, but Weekendology is back, though, so
yeah, that's
we're
exciting.
Here.
That's not monotonous.
No, that is not monotonous. We literally bring you something new every single week.
Except last week.
Well, we still bring like a fresh take on different topics, whether it be in like a general broad
We didn't
area.
have an episode last week, though.
Well, we didn't have an episode, but... that's okay, because we're back.
We still bring
every week we do have an episode.
Didn't bring an episode last week.
We bring you new stuff. So
there you go.
We're the most diverse podcast you'll ever find.
60% of the time, we bring you fun stuff all the time.
Exactly. That's how math works. But I am really excited for this one, Aaron. I feel like I've just kind of had this like ball of energy mixed up inside of me for like the entire week, like stewing over, okay, what topics to talk about. And then we decided on this one of like, oh man, I've got some good stuff to relay onto this.
Ooh, got some opinions.
It's a mix between like anxiety and confusion and just excitement. So I'm ready.
Wow, anxiety, confusion, excitement.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
It sounds like what they say when you go through something really hard. How you have like denial, and then you have anger, and then you have sadness.
5 stages of grief or something?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a grief.
I'd
say
say the
it's
5
more
stages of grief planning this episode.
Well, it could be. Grief for the world, so who knows. But we want to thank all of our returning listeners for joining us again this week. And if you're new to the show, welcome. That's a great intro for you to get to know us. This show is all about changing, improving, and making things better as we cover all the best topics from around the pop culture and the sports world. We're happy to be continuing our collaboration with Colin Kessler of the Big Red World.
The worst texture in the face of the earth, by the way.
What's that?
He's the worst texture in the face of the earth.
Oh, he is, yeah. Colin, if you're listening, I still have lots of questions I need answered, so please,
look at your phone.
Yeah,
that's all we ask.
But check them out. They're a really cool podcasting publishing network. They have popular podcasts like The House That Rick Built and 6 Drunk, 1 Sober. They're on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. Also, we have some really big news, Aaron.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. We have 2 new podcasts created for you guys to listen to. Weekendology Sports is dedicated to all things sports-related. And we have Weekendology Entertainment, and that's dedicated to all things music, movies, cinema, video games, whatever it is. Anything entertainment-related, I guess.
Anything and everything.
Anything and everything. So go follow the Weekendology Sports Twitter at WKNDOLOGY Sports. That's Weekendology, I guess, is how you say it. And Weekendology Entertainment is Weekendology ENT.
It's like a vanity plate. That's why I did the weekend, or...
Yeah.
Kind of fit it in there.
They wouldn't let me do the full... I had to do like 15 characters or something, so I was like
creative.
2 characters over, so I was like, I got to get rid of the 2 E's in there, which kind of sucked. So
yeah.
Weekendology Sports, then, is the sports one. Yeah. Don't forget to follow our main Twitter, where we're still bringing you all the latest and greatest from around the pop culture and the sports world. We're on Weekendology Pod and wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Drop us a line. We're interacting with all of you guys, posting lots of great video content up there. So check that out.
You're going to want to follow all 3, too.
Yes.
Because the main one, keep following. We'll post everything there.
Yes.
The sports one, it's just condensed, organized. You'll see all the sports. So if you're more into sports, you can just see everything there. If you're more into entertainment, you can see all the entertainment stuff there.
And we're in the process of uploading all of our episodes for each category. So there's 1 episode up now for each of them, and then the rest of them will come probably in the next week or 2 as I
stay tuned,
get back into the swing of things with regular day life. So yeah, go drop us a line. Make sure to rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really helps us get noticed. I don't know why, just how technology works. So just,
okay, James Petrogallo.
He caught that. All right, good. I'm glad you caught that. I wasn't going to say exactly what he said, but
the little purple icon.
The little purple icon. We don't know what it does. Just go and effing do it. So
shout out to James Petrogallo.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Wisman and Crime and Sports.
Crime and Sports,
podcast.
Small Town Murder.
Give them a listen.
Really good podcast. Yeah.
Unofficial plug.
Exactly. We're continuing our sponsorship too. Lionfish Promotions has everything you need for all of your promo gear for employees, clients, all of your cool swag on your brands and everything.
Just a loyal supporter of Weekendology.
Very loyal supporter of us, yes. Lionfish Promotions has every kind of promo item that you need, from pens, notebooks, cups, mugs, t-shirts, and more, to be branded with your own personal logo. So go check them out at lionfishpromotions.com. Use the code WEEKEND for 10% off of your first purchase. And make sure you let them know that we sent you.
They still doing PPE?
Yeah, still doing the PPE products. I think now that's starting to take off a little bit more and much more of in need with the recent surge of, death plagues surrounding the world. So, yeah, check them out. They have a 24-hour...
closer to a bubonic plague.
They found a case of the bubonic plague, and was in Europe or something, or...
Oh, was it Europe?
Maybe it was I don't know.
I thought it was China.
Oh, it was China, yeah.
Of course, right?
It doesn't matter. There's a bubonic plague,
Someone
case
ate a
coming
bat
back.
again.
So, oh, geez.
Stop putting bats in your soup.
Stupid. Just ridiculous. But yeah, go check them out if you need PPE equipment or even promo gear. So Aaron, like I said, we've got a really good episode planned for today. I'm really excited for this. With school approaching, it's the return ever so quickly. We wanted to expound upon our last episode where we talked about how universities can come back, but this week we're talking about how college sports and athletics can come back post-pandemic, or I guess fall time would be still pandemic time. So
fall time is pandemic
fall time, pandemic
That's
time.
That's what I always say.
Exactly. So there's been some huge updates that have taken place in both the collegiate athletic and the academic world. So we thought we'd break it all down and give our takes on how to change and improve it. So are you ready, Aaron?
I am ready. I'm all about changing and improving.
That's exactly what you...
It's the name of the game.
That's our motto. So we're sticking to it.
That's what they pay me for to do every week. That's what Lionfish pays me to do every weekend.
Yeah. We need all of the support from Lionfish in order to pay our bills, pay
keep
the rent.
lights
on. Exactly.
What do you think? We only have one lamp turned on.
What do you think makes the studio run? So I mean, well, there's lots of natural light in the studio. So
yeah, I mean,
exactly,
it's cost cutting.
But so things couldn't get dicier enough. So this thing was passed just a couple days ago. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka
everyone's favorite,
ICE is what the abbreviation is called. Ice baby.
I was thinking that.
Exactly. They're now making so that foreign students who are at home in their respective countries will be denied entry back into the States if they to finish their degree if their universities go fully virtual or online learning for classes. Students already inside the U.S. That it happens to will immediately lose their visas and be deported unless they can immediately secure admission at another program with an in-person instruction. So if they can't, then they'll be immediately deported. So the first thing that kind of hits me is, holy crap, why would they do that? And two, this is putting a huge amount of pressure on universities to come back and hold in-person classes. Otherwise, they're going to risk people missing out and leaving the university. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the laws too well of like in that
You're not
realm.
a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. Just
Dang.
play one on TV.
I got some legal trouble I need some help with. So
I'm not your guy. I mean, I could do some Better Call Saul work.
I guess I better call Saul. Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. It's a strange, I guess, law or rule or whatever they call it. But it doesn't make sense to me either. I think I also like how. Your boy, Donald Trump, tweeted in 2015.
He ain't my boy. He my punching bag, but not my boy.
Presidential harassment? He tweeted in 2015, like, exactly the opposite of that, how, like, that shouldn't happen.
Oh, exactly,
and
yeah.
now he's, like, letting it happen.
Of
but,
course.
yeah, so, like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's a strange deal. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't think we're going to see complete virtual classes. So
Right.
I really think when it comes down to it, we're not going to see this take place because schools, our school, St. Louis University, go Bills. They said they're going to do a hybrid version.
That's what I think should be done.
And I think a lot of schools will do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see this
because the virtual learning really didn't pan out in the spring semester very well anyway. And if schools then take another semester off, students risk falling even further behind.
Right. We mentioned that in the last
Yeah,
episode.
so I get the fact of that, but I think now that there's such a pressure to have schools reopen or by, we're not trying to get too political about it, but there's political agendas here because it's part of the US.
Everything is a political issue.
Everything's a political issue, yeah. But now that you're putting pressure on these universities, it's like, well, okay, are they going to rush back and just say schools are open and not put any precautions in place because they were rushed and they felt like they had to do it? Or are they going to be smart and say, okay, we have to do this, otherwise we miss out on thousands of international students. Should we do it safe? So I think that's the issue that's at hand here.
Well, they're going to really push back because, number one, money. Like everything comes down to money.
Yeah.
But they're not going to let that happen. But I think too, from an athletic standpoint, this is really, if that were to happen, that's huge and something people aren't bringing up enough for athletics.
Yeah.
There's a lot of international athletes that come over here to go to American universities. Friend of the podcast, Gregor Hansen, being one of them.
Exactly.
Went to Northern Michigan University. So people just forget about that. Like that's going to kill some of these sports teams. I mean, especially like sports like hockey. I mean, look at all the Canadian kids. There's one country there. That's
look at the students who have athletic scholarships who are in the international ones, or just regular students in general who have scholarships. They're going to lose those. They're going to lose out on their tuition. They're losing out on education opportunities. And it's one to lose out on academics. It's one to lose out on college athletics. But when you lose out on both at the same time, that's when you have to sit down and say, well, shoot, maybe this isn't the greatest idea to instill this law or to have these,
What's the purpose? I would like to know, and I'm sure there's got to be.
You're preaching to the choir, man, because I couldn't figure it out.
It just seems like, why? Like, why does it matter? Why do they have, maybe it's an immigration law of some kind.
Oh, it's definitely like an immigration, but it serves the political agenda of tightening the borders, eliminating all.
But they have visas; they're legal here.
But they're not like citizens of the United States. So you can have a visa and reside in the country, but you have to.
So are they saying but you're still going to school? That's what I don't get. It's like you have a visa to be over here to go to school.
Bro, I don't even know. Like, look at the world right now. Like,
there's got to be something in there that we're missing. Like, we just don't know. I'm sure there is, and I'm sure some listeners like yelling right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's because of this, but like I don't know these things, so I just looking at it from an idiot's point of view, I'm just like, why does this matter?
I honestly think it's because that, like, they're that side of Trump wants foreigners out of the country, and he wants to do everything he can in order to.
No,
for me, that's what
his
it
wife's
seems like
a
for
foreigner.
me. But like
his wife's not
I
from
don't know.
here.
That
wouldn't make any sense.
It's a very confusing thing, and to lose out on 5.5% of like the entire American collegiate attendance, that's a huge thing. And these schools are now going to be forced with, okay, we're losing out on these scholarships, or the kids are losing out on the scholarships. But we're also losing out on tuitions.
Look how many.
Too.
I'm not trying to generalize, but look how many are like doctors.
Oh yeah,
and like just medical field alone. I mean, there's a lot of international students coming over for that, and like that's just going to be such a huge crater in that job market if that's happening.
Yeah, and I think with the recent developments, you're going to see schools now decide on what they want to focus on most. Is it academics? Is it sports? Before, they've had a decent balance between the two, but now some schools in the Ivy League and Stanford are now cutting sports altogether or moving a lot of the athletics from the fall to the springtime, which brings us to kind of like our main discussion is how athletics in colleges can return post-pandemic or in the fall time.
Yeah.
Within the bubble itself, and to make it safe for athletes and to make it still economically productive for the leagues and the school itself. So a lot of the Ivy League schools are cutting fall sports, moving them from like football to the spring. What do you think about this, Aaron? Do you think this is a good idea? Or?
Yeah. How about the Ivy League just once again leading the charge here? So they were the first ones to cancel the tournament because of Corona back in
they were
back in March.
They're just the trendsetters.
I know, right? Well, that's why they're the Ivy League, I guess.
Exactly.
But you know, it's interesting. At first, I didn't like it because I'm a big college sports fan. You know, I want to see football in the fall. I mean, that's what makes the fall to me. But you know, I think it's smart, and I think it's better, and the Ivy League can do it easier than obviously any of the Power 5 conferences.
Right.
So it's tough because it's hard to say, okay, well, they did it. Why can't the, SEC or ACC do it? Like, it's apples and oranges. That's not even close. But I just think, when I thought about it a little more, since they're doing it, I think we're going to start seeing more, not all, but I think we're going to start seeing more move to the spring, just because think about it. If they don't and they risk it and the numbers still haven't gone down, and I mean, late August is when the season starts, which is right around the corner, what do? You're going to risk not even having a season? Like, I would rather have a season of some kind and just do it in the spring. And most of these schools too, especially like the SEC, you can play all year, so you can they do spring football anyway.
Yeah. It's not like you said, it's not like this is, 6 months down the road where they have to worry about this. This is 6 weeks down the road.
Right. And I think they make the decision now. They just do it because I know, are they going to lose money? Heck yeah. Are they going to piss people off? Definitely. But I just think taking those precautions now, just in case, because look at what's happened this year. Like, it's been a worst case scenario all year with everything, it seems like. So I think you got to take that now and say, hey, at least we're going to get a season.
Yeah. So with like the how the league is structured and like the schedule of the league, it's usually like, from September to January or whatever. Do you think the moving it in from the fall to the springtime is going to affect like how the structure of the league is run, or like with scheduling for different schools?
It's going to be weird because they just have so many sports.
Because
so
like
you move football, are you going to have football, basketball, and baseball playing at the same time? Which you can. Right. I mean, I don't see why not. You play at different facilities,
But then they run those different overlapping schedules to not have conflictions for season ticket holders or for TV rights and so on and so forth.
What if fans can't even go to the games?
Well, that's true, yeah.
That's the thing I think too. It doesn't really matter about like that stuff because you're most likely, whether it's fall or the spring, you're most likely going to have half the stadium full at best. You're not going to get full capacity in 2020 or start of 2021. It's just not going to happen. So I think, now that that's out of the equation, you can play around with this and move it. And especially schools like the Ivy League, like conferences like that, it's not going to matter. Like they don't get that much exposure anyway. I think it will be a little different for like schools like the SEC, but dude, people watch the scrimmages of Alabama games in February and March, like the Crimson versus White games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
People love going to those.
It's not like they can. It's not like it's not playable in the spring and
right.
into the summertime.
I don't think obviously schools like Minnesota, they play outside, and that's going to be tougher, but. Especially football, you can play outside, and it's fine.
I mean, will it be weird that the national championship game is maybe in July at this time next year instead of
That's what's going to be tough because
January. But
I think that'll really be hard. So my predictions, I don't think they're going to have bowl games, or at least they'll just have like you're not going to see the like Bad Boy Mowers Bowl anymore.
Right.
They're going to get rid of those.
Bad
but like
Boy Mowers,
that's a real bowl.
Oh, jeez.
But like they'll keep like the Sun Bowl or obviously the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, like all those big bowls.
Yeah.
They'll keep those. I mean, it'll be a scheduling nightmare. I feel bad for those guys trying to work out those logistics, but I'm sure they're meeting about it now.
Right.
But the tough thing I think is it's out of school. And even like baseball, they go into, May and June, but they don't go into July and August. You know, like you got to have time for kids to go home. So that's what's going to be hard, and it's going to really throw a wrench into, you know, like their rules of, okay, you can't practice this month. You know, they're going to have to change all those.
I think it'll be interesting to see if the leagues, like how the pro leagues are doing, experiment with different types of tournaments or a different type of schedule formats or something new and unique to test out. Like, okay, maybe the college football system will go to a straight like 16-team playoff system. Or like a round robin tournament.
I think they should expand the football playoffs anyway. Yeah.
Or college. Well, I guess basketball probably wouldn't change too much.
Yeah, they have March Madness.
Maybe like, I don't think anybody watches college soccer, to be honest.
I've only watched SLU because when I was there,
I watched SLU, Duke, and North Carolina for college soccer.
They even have that on TV.
Yeah, it was.
Like what channel? Ocho?
It's on ESPN, so they're on ESPN2 and everything in the springtime. So
I've seen more lacrosse games than I have soccer.
Oh, well.
That's crazy.
But, you know, like just like the league formats, because the ECAC hockey starts, and they have started at like 12 teams or something, but their conference play usually begins in November.
So, yeah.
So, like, how are these long, seasons going to be affected, or are they going to shape up?
That's the interesting thing. So, you know, mentioning the Ivy League, hockey, I think, is out of the... I'm going to call it, I know it's not, but I'm going to call it a major sport. You know, I know college hockey is regional.
Everybody on this podcast, so.
Well, I'm not calling them out. I'm just saying, like, I know people could say, like, well, college hockey's not major, but it's, you get what I mean. Like, 4 major sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey. Yeah. You know, so that's going to be weird because that is, to me, the only sport where Ivy Leagues make up a good portion. Harvard was in the championship a couple years ago.
Right.
I mean, they're like powerhouses. You know, Harvard, Princeton, Yale. You have schools like RPI. You know,
random type of things
like that. Like engineering schools. You know, like they have good teams.
That's weird to think. But
it's crazy.
Hey.
Yeah. Money. Kids play hockey, have money.
Hey, so, Yale has some decent sports and everything, so
they're getting better. I mean,
Harvard's got some. They're decent at basketball.
As a Yale alumni, I can. I can say our basketball team's looking good. So.
A side note here: Aaron took an online course to Yale, and now he thinks he's a Yale alumni.
I'm a Yale man.
All right, you're a Yale man. Do you have a Yale
where's
scarf?
my ascot?
Yeah, get your ascots.
I need my ascot.
Kip Kitherington. I'm going to call you Kip from now on.
I need to go play some polo. But, you know, I think that's going to throw a wrench into it, though, because you can't, you know, these other sports, especially football, you can just be like, whatever. Ivy League can do what they want. Like, none of the Ivy League schools matter in football. They're an afterthought. They're barely D1. Hockey, though, they're huge to that sport. I mean, which is hilarious when you have, like, my favorites when so I'm a big college hockey fan, just, you know, growing up in Minnesota, and I have my teams.
It's all Minnesota in there.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, hey, ASU hockey, huge powerhouse.
All right.
But they, I just love when they have, like, Harvard playing St. Cloud State.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like, dopes playing, like, doctors.
Exactly.
It's like Catholics versus convicts. Back in the 80s, dopes versus doctors.
Oh, man. I think it will be interesting, though. I'd love to see them experiment
for that one.
Do the whole like European soccer tournament formats of having teams in groups and
that's a good idea.
Like a group, and then you have a certain amount of points per win, and then obviously you don't draw in basketball or football or anything else, but like, you know, whoever has the most points in that group advances to then like a knockout stage. I think that'd be interesting for like football or for hockey or something like that, when you have so many teams in a conference or multiple conferences, and then when you want. Because I'm assuming they'll probably have to condense or shorten the season a little bit.
I think football should do, and I actually heard this on the radio yesterday. They were talking about just crazy things they could do.
Yeah.
And why not? This is the time where you can do weird stuff, because the major leagues, like you said, are doing it. So why can't college? And, you know, no one's going to question it, or no one's going to be too up in arms, because it's like, hey, man, we're working against the odds here. We got to do what we got to do. But I've always thought the college football should do like a March Madness setup. Not 64 teams or 68 or whatever.
I think it should be like, you know, 32 teams or something. And
right. There's a million football programs. That would be so cool. And
that'd be great.
Think of the upsets that could happen. I mean, people love upsets of college football. They're still talking about Appalachian State beating Michigan.
Oh yeah, or Florida Gulf Coast years later making it to what?
Well, I'm talking about football upsets.
Oh, football. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it happened like 12 years ago, and people still bring that up. So I think that would be so great for the sport to do a tournament style like that, and then it would be fun instead of getting rid of bowls, trying to work with schedules, trying to see where we can play, where we can't play, all that stuff. Just, do a neutral site. And I brought up, I was hating on the tournament style. I don't like it because they're in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I think that makes...
But make the whole season.
Right, but because college football because no college sports have started yet, it's kind of like baseball, where like, if a sport hasn't started yet, then I think do something cool, do something different.
Right.
To me, if a sport started, just cancel the season and go to the next year. But
I think it'll probably give a better understanding of who really is the best team in the league if it is done for football. Because then...
That's why people love the college playoff.
Yeah.
That's why it's gone so well.
It's so much fun because each game means so much.
You actually get a winner.
Whether it's... Now, they wouldn't do single elimination, but they probably do, I don't know, like a
football?
triple... Yeah.
Oh, they would do single elimination.
You think so? For the whole season?
Yeah, guys get hurt. If you did,
you could do the group play in like the beginning of the season for like 5-6 games, and then do the tournament for like the next 5-6 games.
Yeah,
so it's not just like a one game season. And like, you're done for the year then. So yeah, I think that'd be cool.
They could do like just regional games, which would be super easy to do.
Yeah,
I mean most states have at least 2 teams in it, and they're rivalries. Mm-hmm. So like, you could do Texas OU, get that done, and then Texas could play TCU, so it's still a good game, and then they could play UNT or some easy
SMU
game,
and UNT or something like that.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking like a powerhouse.
Oh, like a big time.
You could do like one rivalry game, like big rivalry. Then you could do like, like I said, like a big powerhouse playing like a good school, and then do like a cakewalk.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's a great time for things to kind of experiment and do something new. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. What do you think about Stanford cutting a lot of their sports programs? If you haven't heard, they're discontinuing a lot of the men's and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing.
What is lightweight rowing, by the way? I saw that.
I don't know.
What's the difference in that and just
maybe it's
rowing?
like the boxing classes, like there's heavyweight, lightweight, featherweight, or something. So it's just like a bunch of small,
people who
scrawny
weigh
dudes, like
110. You're in a boat.
Heavyweight rowing class now, champion of the
those
world.
Guys are big.
I mean, they're huge. Co-ed and women's sailing, squash, synchronized swimming, men's volleyball, and wrestling.
It sounds like the sports I played at Yale.
It sounds like a lot of rec sports or like other sports. Obviously, they're not mainstream sports, but
I want to get your view on this, and then I'll tell you mine. I have a view.
I think it's really interesting. Like, I was confused at first because I thought, well, they're just going to cut it for the fall, or they're just going to cut it for the 2021 academic year.
Yeah.
But I think now they're just cutting them completely.
They're gone. They're done.
They're just gone, which is very surprising.
It's like what SLU did with football in the 40s.
It's really weird because it's one thing to do one of the sports, but to do just like a mass cut of like 11, one makes me think, well, they probably had this on the books for a while, and this is kind of the Kickstarter that was just like, okay, coronavirus is here, we're not going to risk it. It's time to just get rid of it and do it now, or
do it now.
Or they're really just super worried about. I guess people attending and participating in these sports. Well, I don't know if anybody attends.
The 3 people that go to a
lightweight rowing,
game?
But
you mean the parents?
Hey,
attending the
what
game?
are you doing this weekend? You want to go to the women's sailing and squash tournament?
So I actually asked a girl on a date to a volleyball game one time. I was a freshman in college.
Rookie mistake, man.
Yeah,
that didn't go well.
She literally laughed in my face.
She's probably like, "We have a volleyball team."
Well, she knew we had a volleyball team, but it was because she laughed about it.
Oh man!
And I thought it was like, man, this is such a good idea. And
what a rook move!
I've never been to a volleyball game. I'm like typical freshman. Like, oh, this is so cool. I've never done this.
Do something
before.
new, yeah. Nah.
Womp,
No,
womp.
I think it's very strange that they would cut like 11 sports completely, because now you have all of these athletes who are they're missing out on their scholarships. Like, what happens to the scholarships that they gave? Like, some of these students probably got a full ride for Harvard squash or Harvard rowing or something. And so what?
Well, Stanford.
Or Stanford, sorry, not Harvard.
Which is expensive.
Oh, yeah. Stanford
I
squash team
hope
or
they're
something.
not just throwing them out in the cold and say, hey, pay the rest of your Stanford tuition.
That's what I'm saying, because like, it's not like this is, a $50,000 a year school. This is like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Plus, like, Stanford doesn't just take, like, oh, you're good at a sport. Here, you're good at sailing. Come on. Like, you got to be good at academics, too. They look at both.
Oh, yeah. So I'm assuming they're probably just focusing in on the academics portion now, because it's not like these are.
It's not like these kids are going to be like, oh, I'll just
fry
go
cooks or something, or
Well, and also they're not going to be like, well, okay, I'll just go to Princeton to sail then. You know, like they're wanting to stay at Stanford.
Yeah,
they chose it for.
These are going to be doctors, lawyers, like engineers, like top grade scientists, whatever. So I don't think they're going to be hurting. But do they get rid of their scholarships? Do they?
I don't know how that works.
Do you think this is a response to coronavirus?
So my opinion on this is, number one, it's not a huge. At first, when I saw it, I was kind of shocked because the way it was reported. But then when you looked into it, you're like, oh my gosh! Like, seriously, wrestling and field hockey are the only two that I would call like.
Wrestling, I would say, is probably a major sport.
Yeah, college wrestling, actually, people don't understand it. Like, college wrestling's bigger than people get it credit for, especially regionally. But still, it's non-revenue. Like, these are all non-revenue sports. These are, and field hockey's, like, decently big. But come on, like, sailing, lightweight rowing.
They're
like,
kind of,
these are squash. I didn't even know squash was a D1 sport.
Neither did I.
That was a club sport.
But think of it from this way. So a lot of these seem to be, like, Olympic events that the Olympics host. So what happens to the talent pool if other universities start cutting some of these sports? Or like, do they eliminate these from the Olympics, or does our men's American fencing team just be like, forget it, we're not playing again or whatever?
I think if it's a mass scale, that'll hurt the Olympic sport, but I don't think it will be a mass scale. I think it should be, though, if the sport's really draining the money. Because here's the thing with this. I think that some of these sports help with the Title IX issue, because a lot of schools struggle with that. So keeping like the women's sports on board would be good. But I just really think, a lot, like, I'll use SLU as an example just because it's what I know. Their field hockey team is garbage. Like, so bad.
At one point, they hadn't won a game in like 3 years.
Yeah.
They'd never won a game.
It's terrible. And it's a drain on the school. I mean, really, on the
makes sense. Yeah.
I know they don't spend too much on it, but like, it's almost like a burden, on the school, because they're keeping it around, making zero money. It's just costing them money. It has zero potential. It's kind of like just a nuisance in sports, for lack of a better word. So I just think it's an opportunity for these schools to kind of use. It sounds terrible, but I know the schools are doing this. They're using it as an excuse to be like, oh yeah, no, we're really worried about these kids. Would they do that for football, for baseball, for basketball?
Yeah.
No way.
There's
Heck
no way. I think it would be interesting to see how it affects other universities. These are obviously.
I think you're going to see other universities do it, but I don't think it's going to be sweeping because, number one, it looks bad.
Yeah.
People are going to catch on to it, and they're like, huh, interesting how you chose those sports.
Exactly.
People aren't stupid. So I think you're fighting that battle because they're gonna say, like, especially when they cut women's programs, they're gonna be like, well,
there's no equality in it.
Exactly.
Like, what about women's sports? Yeah,
it's a can of worms. And I think it's a good opportunity, though, to, like I said, shed what you can and just what makes sense for the school. But I think they just need to watch. I mean, 11 is a lot.
That's what I think was the most eye-catching, was so many different sports programs at the same time,
But at the same time, the fact that they even have those as D1 sport. So Stanford, I read, actually it's the second most in the NCAA.
Oh, really?
Next to Ohio State, which Ohio State had 37 D1 sports. They're the second most D1 programs.
That makes me think then that they probably had it on their docket to get rid of it.
Right. They're
already.
like, hey, we have way too much.
Yeah, and then this was just kind of like the tipping point of, okay, it's just time. Let's just cut the cord right now.
Yeah. And make them club sports. That's the thing. You don't need to totally eliminate them, but just get them off the athletic payroll or whatever, the athletic docket, and then just make them clubs. So that way the kids still can play. The UAB cut football a couple years ago.
That's true.
So the schools cut sports. It just happens. Students know that is a possibility, especially if you're playing a non-revenue sport.
SLU should have a football team. I'm just going to say that. So
yeah, that's what drives me. I'm just going to go on this rant for a little bit about that. It drives me crazy.
It grinds my gears.
Man. We invented the forward pass. We have so much great history. The NFL team's gone. What a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Perfect football weather. Could be a great rivalry with Mizzou, but Mizzou's too scared to play us all the time.
They are too scared.
Dude, what a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
I know it costs money. I know it's a headache for dealing with Title IX because you have, 75 dudes on the team, but man, you could make that work. I'm telling you. They put no money. They only put money into basketball. The baseball team's good. They put no money into that. They have the money.
Well, we'll be sure to get Freddie P on the podcast.
Yes. Between opening the bars around campus and getting a football team, I would love to just get an hour. I would pay him to get an hour to give him a piece of my mind, which I wanted to do when we saw him at the reunion.
That would be great.
Oh, I just wanted to be like, hey, man, listen up. I know you've heard this before, but
football team. Tangent aside, I think it'll be interesting to see how other universities react to the cutting of the Stanford University. I
don't think you're going to see prominent schools like Stanford cut. I think you're going to see schools that don't have a lot of money.
Probably,
the Coastal Carolinas of the world and schools like that.
So,
can do it.
What about now for the major sports, like college football? Obviously, the main college sport besides basketball to drive revenue. You have the same fears of how the NFL is kind of looking to return as well. Of how do you keep these players safe? How do you instill a testing policy that's consistent and accurate, and also eventually have fans come back or have the teams play the games and still continue to operate? Ohio State just paused all of their voluntary workouts for a lot of their teams there. There's a lot of different, like Texas University just had a lot of their football players.
Oh, you said it. Oh.
What?
Texas University? What are you, an A&M fan?
I don't know.
It's University of Texas, man.
University
Get it
of
right.
Texas. Sorry.
That's their number one rule.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure which Texas
literally
University
an A&M song, fight song. They say Texas University just to grind their gears.
Oh boy! Oh no! All the Longhorns are going to come after me now.
Come after Will. Just give them all your hate.
But a lot of their players tested positive then. So, is this going to be obviously it's a risk, but is it going to affect the comeback of college football, in your opinion?
Pausing the workouts?
Pausing some of the workouts and then
I don't think it'll affect it. I think
the fear of the spread of the virus.
I think they should just move everything to the spring. I think that's the safest way to do it. I don't like this whole bubble thing. Look at the NBA. All these guys are getting sick still, and they can't play.
That's true, yeah.
And it's again, they just shouldn't be doing these things. It's none of this stuff isn't going down. It's not getting better. It's especially college sports. It's so regional. Some states are different than others, obviously. With cases, I just think it's getting too close to the season at this point. And I, for one, I would hate to see this happen because I love college football. I'm pumped for the season. My Sun Devils are getting ready to make a run.
You play to win the game.
Jaden Daniels is ready to go off. Man, he's tweeting every day, firing me up with his highlight films. But no, you got to move to the spring. Because you got to give these kids a normal, one, college experience, and two, a normal athletic experience. And if you do this and kids get sick or coaches get sick,
you could ruin the program.
Oh,
you could totally ruin the program. So let's talk about the ramifications of. So if you come back, same as within standard, it's regular. It's like regular universities or businesses or whatever. If you open up too soon, we've seen the impact of surge of cases, people getting sick. And then you have these are
seen it firsthand.
So it's not like a desk worker or a student who can stay at home and rest, and they're not reliant upon their bodies to work at 100% capacity. These are high functioning student athletes.
These are highly tuned athletic machines.
These are machines. We need them to be at 100% capacity. But But like, so they require that, and this virus apparently takes quite a while to get over. A couple weeks, maybe sometimes a few months, depending. So you run the risk of hurting these athletes long term. But what for like the organizations and for the programs themselves, like they miss out on billions of dollars.
I'm just gonna call out again my boy Colin Cowherd.
Oh boy, Colin Cowherd's
once again the
coming
Fox
back.
News of sports radio. I love watching him every day because it's entertaining and his show is ran really well. It's great producers on that show. Shout out Joy Taylor. But he's an idiot and he makes the dumbest points. He's
Okay,
like
what
right
did he
in
say
line with
this
Skip
time?
Bayless. He said, "You got to play the season because there's risk in life."
That's the same sentiment that's been going around with everybody.
You can't go through life without risk, so you gotta play. Like, dude, do you realize that if with that attitude, like, this is why we're in the space we are now because we had that attitude. Like, I know you love your stupid Husky football that the Sun Devils are gonna beat anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But like, no, like you can't have that. That's such a dumb attitude. There is way too much money to lose. There's way too much PR to lose.
Yeah.
There's way too much just you're going to screw over the whole program, like you said.
Yeah,
So I just think you got to move it, and you also can't do the bubble thing. It's not going to work, especially with college kids. Like, they can't live in a bubble. You just can't.
You can't.
Culturally, for college, you can't do it like that.
It's not sustainable. I don't think it's not sustainable long term. It's certainly difficult to sustain and even short term as well.
Especially playing the sport.
Exactly.
You're not 6 feet apart. Like if I'm posting a dude up, you're right.
I was watching the
on him.
MLS returns last night with their opening game for the tournament, which, by the way, like 3 teams from the MLS have already pulled out because half their team contracted the virus.
Pull out game strong.
But they're not social distancing like
what was
after
that like
the game.
watching it?
It was weird. It was like watching a practice match.
Yeah.
Because you can hear them chirping at each other. You can hear them like calling out like strategy, like yelling. Like it was like going to a college game and with nobody in the stands. So
I've been watching a lot of UFC. And
yeah.
I don't like it because like
it's weird.
You hear it's cool the first couple minutes because you're like, oh, this is awesome. I can hear literally everything. But then it's like, I feel like I'm watching a guy in a gym.
Exactly.
Like,
but these guys aren't social distancing at the end of the game when they're all corralling around each other. They're like giving each other hugs and high fives.
Did you see the NFL? What they said today?
What'd they say?
They said that they're going to eliminate jersey swaps and handshakes before and after the game.
Oh, cool!
Like
that's
like
going
that's
to
gonna help.
Yeah, when these guys are literally like breathing
but
on
you can
each other.
tackle a guy.
Yeah,
you can line up right across the line from
exactly.
a guy.
So it will be very difficult to sustain that bubble, and like you said, like there's billions of dollars at stake here. Whether you're going to have a shortened season, it's going to have an impact. But if you have no season, it's going to destroy a lot of smaller college football programs.
Look at
or even any athletic program.
Well, and we saw this already with the attitude that we went in with the NCAA tournament, like with conference tournaments. We started playing them, and then they were like halfway done, and then canceled. Yeah. And that just was such a it was terrible for college.
It's such a letdown when you're like, all right, cool, sports are back. Crap.
Right, and like you're gonna risk doing that again? I mean, just come on. Why are we gonna repeat history 7 months later? Like,
because there's a risk when you go out to the streets, Aaron. You risk getting run over by somebody at the red light when you cross the street. So
Edwards on the pod.
Exactly.
I just think like I said, at first the Ivy League, I was like, what are they doing? But then moving to the spring, man, they don't call them geniuses for nothing. Like,
that's true.
Follow their lead. Do what they're doing. Hey, they obviously got it right the first time around with basketball. Just move this stuff to the spring. Figure out the logistics now. But I mean, at least we know we'll be safer doing it then.
56 teams have already pulled out of Division I play already for the NCAA. So, like,
wait, what do you mean?
56 varsity programs have dropped this year from the NCAA Division I level. So, like, they've decided, like, we're not playing this year.
All sports?
I don't think all sports, but, like, some of their sports. So it's like the Stanford approach. So instead of just cutting the program altogether, they're just saying we're not playing this year for some basketball, some for hockey.
Do you know which schools?
I don't know. I read it on a Sports Illustrated article. I'll If I find it, I'll post I'll post the link in the description.
I'm just curious. I didn't hear that. Wow.
Yeah, they just said that 56 varsity programs have dropped.
But see, there you go. There again, like, and this develops every day. I just think, look at those signs. Look at what's happening. Look at Ohio State's pausing their workouts. A huge football program like that. If they're doing that a month before the season starts, like,
yeah,
hey man, that's a sign.
I think it's safe to say that we have not respected the severity of this. We're very overconfident in what we think we can do with keeping things the same and running programs as normal.
Well, and would you rather wait 5 months for a season and for sure have a season?
Yeah.
Or risk it
and have it never coming back,
and then the other half is like, oh, we don't even have a season.
Right.
Like, hey, I would wait 5 more months and at least have that and say, you know what, there will be a season this year. We can figure this out. Rather than gamble.
Because a lot of the smaller schools will probably just be like, if we miss the season, we rely on that income. It
costs us money anyway. We're just not going to do it.
But they rely on that income so much for college football. I mean, such a $1 billion industry. Same for college basketball.
Right.
A lot of these universities do. So if they miss out completely on it, they'd be like, we're just going to cut the program altogether and not come back. So
I think for the smaller schools, though, like some of the like especially football, it costs them so much money to keep that. They're just going to be like, no, we're not doing it this year. We're dropping out this year because it's just too much to risk and lose. I think a school, though, like Alabama, Ohio State, Big 10, Big 12,
I think they'll
ACC,
be okay, yeah.
SEC. Well, no, I think they have more to lose because they are such money makers. If they risk it and then they don't play at all, I mean, that's a huge loss. Where if they just say
fired because they can't afford his salary because
that'd be the best.
His $10 million salary or something.
But I just feel like it. But if they have that guarantee of they're going to make money. They could play literally any time of the year and they're going to make the same amount.
Right.
Fans are crazy. They're going to show up. They're going to watch.
Yeah.
There's no football fan. There's no Bama fan who's going to be like, nope, I'm not going to a game. I'm not watching that game because they're not playing in October. Like, They don't care. They're going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah, they're kind of diehards. But I think it's an interesting point as well. But if you like what we talked about in this episode and we want to continue the conversation afterwards, hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and all social media to let us know what your thoughts are. What is the future of college sports? How can they do a bubble? How can sports come back?
They can't.
Nope, it's already been decided. What are your thoughts on Stanford cutting a lot of the athletic programs as well? We want to hear from you. Check us out on Twitter at Weekendology Pod. We're on YouTube at Weekendology Podcast. Check out our Facebook page. Just search Weekendology Podcast as well.
Follow Weekendology Sports and Weekendology Entertainment. We need followers on those.
Yes. Follow those if you want all things just sports or all things just entertainment related. We have some cool things that we're going to be bringing you for each of those. Keep it tuned to the original Weekendology as well for all of the latest.
Yeah, don't go and follow that.
Oh, and don't unfollow us. Yeah, keep following that. Yeah. Just follow the others. To help us get the word out.
It's the big three.
To give you we are the big three. So we're the Miami Heat now.
Exactly.
We've got our Chris Bosh and
see, this
Dwayne
is
Wade.
The decision. We're announcing it right now.
Exactly.
And now we're going into start winning some championships.
We're taking our talents to 2 more podcasts.
Also, with this pandemic, do you like how much you're talking about the decision because it's been 10 years?
Oh, yeah. I've seen
that. It's like,
that.
wow, there's nothing to talk about when not only have we made a documentary about the decision, but now we're talking about it every day. And
they're like doing a play-by-play of this decision.
Like, was this too much coverage? As they cover it again.
There you go. So check out our last episode on Apple Podcasts where we talk about the future of American collegiate system. Can they return post-pandemic? How are schools and people going to return to campuses? Very intertwined with how this episode goes as well. Check out the Big Red World. They're on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Play. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. Click the rate, comment, subscribe. Anything before we close it off, Aaron? You want to yell at Colin Cowherd again?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think about Colin Cowherd and why does he suck?
He sucks because he sucks. So.
He's another one. I'd love to just get an hour with him and number one's like, I just ask him, do you really believe the crap you spew? And
I bet he does, yeah.
why do you like want to have sex with Russell Wilson so bad?
Oh,
that dude
jeez.
loves Russell Wilson.
Wow.
Like more than Sierra.
Okay.
It's incredible.
Well, Colin Coward, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on Weekendology podcast and
answer those questions.
Answer all of those
burning questions.
Exactly. Check us out. We've got new episodes every Friday. Thanks for tuning in this week, but until then, we'll see you guys next time.